Welcome back to Top 5. The Fight for Redemption, Episode 3, An Unlikely Ally. The storm of emotions from their last battle still clung to Jalen and his team like an unshakable weight. The ambulance carrying Keisha had barely pulled away before the gravity of their situation hit. Jalen stood on the rain-soaked street, eyes burning with guilt and rage. Keisha's injury had shaken him to the core, and now, more than ever, he felt the burden of leadership. He had to protect his friends, no matter the cost. But that cost was already proving steep. As he stared at the aftermath of their battle with Vortex, Danny and Malik regrouped by his side, each wearing the same haunted expression. The storm had passed, but the war was far from over. "We can't just let Vortex get away with this," Danny said, her voice sharp with determination. "Keisha wouldn't want us to stop. We need to strike back." Jalen, still grappling with his inner turmoil, nodded slowly. "We will. But we have to be smart about it. Rushing in will only get more of us hurt." His voice was steady, but beneath it, the crackling hum of electricity betrayed his emotion. "We need a plan, and we need to find Vortex before he can hurt anyone else." As they retreated to their hideout, the weight of Jalen's responsibility settled in deeper. He couldn't afford another mistake. Keisha's face, pale and motionless, haunted him, but he pushed the image away. He needed focus, needed control. Hours passed as the team prepared for their next encounter. Malik, as always, was glued to his laptop, searching through every available database to track Vortex's movements. Danny stayed close by, keeping an eye on their surroundings, her ability to phase through objects allowing her to check for intruders unnoticed. Meanwhile, Jalen paced, his body buzzing with pent-up energy. "We need to lure him out," Malik suggested, his fingers flying across the keys. "Vortex feeds off chaos. If we can stage something that looks chaotic enough, he'll come to us." Danny raised an eyebrow. "And what exactly are we staging? A fake riot?" "He's not stupid, Malik. He'll know it's a trap." Jalen stopped pacing, an idea forming. "Not if we make it look real. Vortex thrives on controlling storms and winds, right? What if we create an electrical surge in a populated area, something big enough to draw him out? But how are we going to control it?" Danny asked, concern flashing across her face. "That's where I come in," Jalen said, the electricity within him buzzing at the thought of unleashing it. "I can control the surge. We'll keep civilians out of the way, but it'll be enough to catch his attention." It was a risky plan, but the team agreed, it was their best shot. As night fell, they moved into position at the outskirts of the city, setting up their trap near an abandoned factory that had become a notorious hideout for criminals. It was isolated enough that they wouldn't endanger innocent people, but visible enough to draw Vortex out. Jalen stood at the center of the factory, his hands crackling with electricity, ready to unleash the storm inside him. Malik manipulated the local power grid, causing flickers and surges to ripple through the area, and Danny stood ready, prepared to phase through any incoming attacks. All they needed was Vortex to take the bait. But the villain never showed. Instead, as the electrical surge built to a crescendo, something unexpected happened. The heat in the air intensified. Jalen could feel it creeping along his skin, and a strange light flickered in the distance. "What's that?" Danny asked, her eyes narrowing as she peered into the shadows. Before anyone could answer, flames erupted at the far end of the factory, licking the walls with violent intensity. A figure emerged from the fire, a teenage boy, barely older than Jalen, with light skin and wild eyes. His hands were engulfed in flames, and with every step, the fire grew stronger. "That's not Vortex," Malik muttered, staring in disbelief. "No, it's not," Jalen agreed, electricity crackling at his fingertips. But he's not here to help. Without warning, the boy unleashed a torrent of fire, forcing the team to scatter. Jalen barely managed to throw up an electrical shield in time to deflect the flames, but the heat still singed his skin. "Who are you?" Jalen shouted, eyes scanning the boy for any sign of hesitation. The boy didn't answer. He continued to hurl flames with reckless abandon, forcing Danny to phase through the ground to avoid being burned alive. Malik scrambled for cover behind a metal beam, trying to regain control of the power grid while dodging blasts of fire. Jalen was on the defensive, the storm within him raging, but something about the boy's erratic attacks made him pause. He wasn't fighting with skill or control, it was desperation. The boy was scared. "Wait!" Jalen called out, his voice cutting through the chaos. "We're not your enemies." The boy stopped, flames still flickering in his hands, his breath coming in ragged gasps. "I don't want to hurt anyone," he cried, his voice cracking. I don't know how to stop it." Jalen glanced at Danny and Malik, who were both as shocked as he was. This boy wasn't like Vortex. He was lost, struggling to control the powers that were wreaking havoc around him. Jalen lowered his hands, the electricity around him dimming. "We can help you," he said cautiously. "But you need to stop the fire." The boy hesitated, his eyes darting between Jalen and the flames he had created. Slowly, he lowered his hands, and the fire began to die down, leaving behind smoldering embers and scorched earth. "My name's Jalen," he said, taking a step forward. "What's yours?" The boy swallowed hard, his shoulders sagging with exhaustion. "Eric," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I've been on my own for months. I don't know how to control it." Malik stepped out from behind the beam, still wary but less defensive. "You're a firebender, right?" Eric nodded. "Yeah, but I'm not like you guys. I don't have control. I just burn things." Danny reappeared next to Jalen, her expression softening as she looked at Eric. "You're not alone anymore. We can teach you how to control it, but you need to trust us." Eric's eyes filled with a mix of hope and fear. "You'll help me?" Jalen nodded. "Yeah. But first, we need to figure out what we're dealing with. Vortex is still out there, and he's more dangerous than ever." Eric took a deep breath, his eyes flickering with uncertainty. "I want to help. I'll do whatever it takes." Just as Jalen was about to welcome Eric to the team, a sudden gust of wind blasted through the factory, throwing everyone off balance. The familiar, icy voice echoed through the ruins. "You think you've won, Bishop? You're just getting started." Jalen's heart dropped. Vortex had returned. Without thinking, Jalen surged forward, electricity crackling around him as he prepared to attack. But before he could even raise his hand, Eric stepped in front of him, a massive ball of fire already forming between his palms. Eric said coldly, "I'll show you." Jalen hesitated, stunned by the boy's confidence. "Eric, don't." But it was too late. Eric launched the fireball at Vortex, the flames swirling with such intensity that the entire room lit up. Vortex raised his arms to defend himself, summoning winds to counter the flames, but it was no use. The fire engulfed him, the heat so intense that even Jalen could feel it from where he stood. Vortex screamed in agony as the fire consumed him. His winds faltered, dying down as his body crumbled under the weight of the flames. Within seconds, he was nothing more than ash, scattered across the floor. Jalen, Danny, and Malik stood frozen in shock. They had fought Vortex for months, struggling to even wound him. And now, this kid, this teenager, had killed him in a matter of seconds. Eric turned to face them, the fire reflected in his wide eyes, a twisted smile on his face. "See?" he said softly, his voice carrying an eerie calm. Told you I could help." Jalen's heart raced as he stared at the boy. This wasn't just about control or power. Eric enjoyed it. He enjoyed the kill. The room fell into an uneasy silence, the only sound the crackling of dying embers. And in that moment, Jalen realized that they hadn't just gained an ally, they had unleashed something far more dangerous than they could have imagined. As the camera zoomed in on Eric's face, the reflection of the fire danced in his eyes, his smile widening into something almost sinister.